Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another lore video for Final Fantasy XIV. And I thought this was long overdue, but a lot of people who will be creating Viera in July will be expecting to have a little bit of backstory about what exactly the Viera's place in Final Fantasy XIV is. Now, we know a lot from Tactics and Final Fantasy XII in particular, and all of the other games that featured the worlds of Ivalice. However, until recently, there wasn't a great deal of information about what exactly Final Fantasy XIV's Viera would actually involve. With the last part of the Ivalice Alliance raid series, we saw the Auburn Monastery, which in itself has some quite interesting links to Viera themselves. However, once you have completed all of the quests, you are free to walk around the Prima Vista and talk to the many NPCs within. Now obviously there's a ton of lore here from various NPCs, but we're going to be focusing on Viera related lore today, because that's the main focus of this video. Talking specifically to the Wandering Dramaturge gives you a lot of clues as to what we can expect in Shadowbringers in particular. So first of all, you can ask about the Viera Culture, to which the Wandering Dramaturge replies, "Ah yes, I have learned much of the Leporine folk during my travels. So let us start off with the most basic of details. There exist two distinct clans, the light-skinned Vina Viera and the darker-skinned Rava Viera. The word Viera itself means people of the wood, and true to that name, both the Rava and the Vina make their homes exclusively in the Golmore jungle, or the primeval forests which line the southwestern foothills of the Scate Range, respectively. Until recently, perhaps the past several generations, a Viera living outside her homeland was unheard of, and those who abandoned their tribes were branded outcasts. You see, the Viera follow a strict code called the Green Word that binds them to their land and prohibits all contact with the outside world unless absolutely necessary. Similar to that of the Makote Keepers of the Moon, the Viera's societal hierarchy is strictly matriarchal. You will find no males in the villages of both the Vina and the Rava, let alone in positions of rule. Yet that does not mean they do not play an important role in Viera society. The males make up the mantle of Wood Warder, protectors of the forest, and serve their tribes by seeing no evil encroach on their tribe's sacred demesnes. Males, for the most part, are reclusive, shunning contact with even their own kin, save for rare occasions they return to their village of birth to sow their seed and to claim any boys who have reached adulthood. But I shall speak of that queer custom at length later. Tread not the wood with hopes of finding a male Viera, for you will be met with naught but disappointment, or worse, death. This, however, is not to discredit the marital prowess of female Viera. The women of the wood are as formidable as the men, and merely choose to devote their attention to the protection of their hearth and young. Without a supportive community, the males must constantly struggle to survive. Food, clothing, weapons, medicines, all must be procured or crafted by the individual, and without the aid of another. The male lives alone and dies alone. This has gone unchanged for countless generations. I spent many a moon in the desert Sapphire, and while I saw all manner of wondrous creatures, not once did I lay mine eyes upon a male Viera, nor did I hear of one living in the city. They simply do not exist to us." And then you can also ask about Viera Culture, to which the Wandering Dramaturge replies, "For the Viera, the hands of time move at a far more leisurely pace than they do for the rest of us. Whereas a Hyur might consider themselves fortunate to see, say, 80 winters before her return to the lifestream, a Viera can endure up to 12 score or more. It is estimated that upwards of 8 in 10 Viera are born female, though it is not until at least the 13th name day, when the individual moves from adolescence into adulthood, that the individual's gender becomes apparent. Then, for the next 2 centuries, will the Viera maintain its physical youth, rendering it nigh impossible to discern one's age simply from outward appearances. When it is revealed that a Viera kit is a male, it will be given into the care of another, that it may learn the ways of a Wood Warder, the protectors of the forest. Once every 3 to 5 summers, male Viera will descend from the trees to a nearby village to mate. It is at this time, if there are any recently discovered jacks still living amongst the females, that the older male will make them his wards and teach them how to survive without the crutch of companionship. Only following countless seasons of training and strict adherence to the word of a wood will the students themselves earn the title of master and be allowed to seek solitude. More than a few will perish during this brutal rite of passage, further thinning the tribe's males, until only those with the strongest seed remain. As I explained before, the duty of a male Viera, a wood warder, is to see that their tribe's demesnes remain untouched by the destructive whims of outsiders, yet they do so from the shadows, oft choosing to shoot first and not even bother with questions. The females, on the other hand, are much more open in their relationship with the wood, though I use the term open in the most loosest of senses. More than simply defend the forest, they seek also to nurture it, clearing undergrowth, removing fallen trees, planting seeds, eradicating vermin. Efforts by past kings to bring Viera lands under Dalmascan rule have been met with either indifference or violence. As of late, Rabanasta has suffered the Viera their self-governance, with the promise the villagers will not take up their bows against the throne. When I was younger and far more the fool than I am now, I asked a Viera if she did not find her tribe's ways awkward. Was it not within the natural order for males and females of a species to coexist? The woman answered me thus: the value of coexistence will not be found neath a loincloth. Long as our kind endured, understanding that the distance twixt two bodies does not dictate the distance twixt two souls. So there we go, that was some information that perhaps you wouldn't ordinarily read, or perhaps you have read but maybe got halfway through and didn't really take it in. This actually happens to me quite a lot. I'll read something on an NPC and try to take it in as much as possible, but whether it's distractions or maybe the need to read out loud myself, I don't really take it in as well as if I'd read it out loud or if someone else has actually said it to me. So in this way, I hope this was actually helpful. There's a lot of other information from the actual main storyline itself, but obviously that's stuff you already play through to get to this part. The only other quote I would imagine that gives further credence is from the company Tragedian, who says, "Those Viera who have taken up residence in the cities tend to be held in high regard, their small numbers lending to their air of mystery. It is not unheard of for members of the upper class to part with great deals of their wealth simply to be seen with one of the elusive ladies." So it's not completely unheard of in the modern times for Viera, or at least the female Viera, to step outside of their tribes, but as it stands there are no reports of males doing the same, or at least there's no information here pointing towards that. So whether or not we'll see male Viera in Shadowbringers, it's starting to look more and more towards a possibility. I'm a firm believer that they won't gender lock this particular race, but you know, you never know. All of the lore that we have so far from this is kind of pointing to in the past tense and might not be completely up to date, especially if we're going to be helping these people throughout Shadowbringers. Perhaps they become less elusive and become more friendly, and that's presumably the reason that we're going to be teaming up with Viera in the first place as a playable race. But you never know. Shadowbringers is just around the corner. We'll get our answers soon. Either way, thank you kindly for watching this video. Hopefully it was interesting, and I'll see you all next time.